Good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming to another night with Behind Black Business, sponsored by our organization, Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities. And tonight we have another phenomenal guest, Michael Thompson, who is the owner of OBT. And I'm sure some of you are wondering what that is if you haven't received our newsletter. But this is a Black-owned social media platform. Would I be describing that correctly, Michael?
Actually, it's that and a whole lot more.
Okay. And then we're gonna talk about that tonight. So, Michael, I want to thank you for coming on because this is really special. I really want to thank you for coming on and taking your time to be with us tonight.
Hey, you're quite welcome. I'm just happy to be here, talking to my people, talking to my family. Hey, this is what I like to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, as we usually say at the beginning of our organization, at the beginning of our podcast, rather, we started this organization in an effort to help our businesses within the communities of Chicago. You're walking around and you're seeing the lack of reinvestment in our community. I was sitting in on a Zoom meeting with our aldermen last night, and people were talking about what kind of businesses we want in our communities and what kind of businesses we don't want in our communities. And people want businesses that are going to reflect the people who are in the community and help circulate the dollars in the community. And that's one of the biggest problems. Our schools are under resourced. Our Black businesses are not getting the economic support that they should be getting. We have just gone through a daunting task of trying to get dollars from our local government to help a locally Black-owned bookstore here in Chicago, Frontline Bookstore. Frontline Bookstore was facing eviction. And we've gone to aldermen and we've gone to state reps and this organization and that organization. And so we decided to take matters into our own hands to begin to try to raise the dollars that are needed for this organization and continue to try to help them get the dollars on the table. And so far, he's still staying afloat. And we had a successful event with Bobby Irvin and Maggie Brown. They performed for free to help us raise dollars to help this bookstore. Why are we helping our bookstores? Because we know that everything starts with knowledge and what's in your head. And what's in your head is going to determine where you're going to go and where you're going to end up. And so we once had 22 Black bookstores in Chicago, and now there are actually 4. I just found out about another Black bookstore, and which is wonderful to know that we are multiplying in that area. And I'm hoping to have a conversation with them on this podcast and to also have them on our website as we do our other bookstores. At the end of this interview, we will be announcing, Doris is going to be coming on to announce the winner of our monthly book giveaway. This is our book of the month. Okay. What They Never Told You in History Class, Volume 1. One of our subscribers will be winning a copy of this book, Compliments of Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities. And we give a book away from a bookstore every month. This month, the Underground Bookstore has been our featured bookstore of the month. And this is the book that Brother Yoel selected. And the Underground Bookstore, which is located in Chatham on East 87th Street, they've been there for 30 years. And we ask that people continue to support our bookstores, continue to help Frontline by making donations to GoFundMe, purchasing book bundles, and definitely going to the store to visit and purchasing items from there. So we also are continuing our petition for our bookstores. The petition that we have out, we're asking you to go to change.org, Save Black Bookstores in Chicago. And we're asking you to sign that petition. And that petition is helping Frontline. We want to petition that Frontline will stay open. And we're getting some positive feedback from the proprietor regarding that, Brother Sekou. And we're also petitioning to our Chicago Public Schools that they take some dollars from the school budget that's allocated for books and give some contracts to our Black bookstores. So that's a part of that petition that we have, and a public policy that we want to put on the table. So without going any further into what Repair, Restore, and Grow Black communities are doing, I know a lot of people are very excited to hear from Michael. And so we want to start our conversation here with you, Michael. And I think we'd like to start by you telling us about yourself. We'd like to know where you grew up, and let's just start there by telling us who you are.
All right. My name is Michael Thompson, and I am, I don't know the best way to describe myself other than someone that doesn't go for the status quo. I believe that I can do anything. And, for me, that was one of the things that really got me to build this platform, not knowing any limitations or anything like that. I have more than 30 years in the technology field, started in technology a long time ago, done a lot of work for a lot of different companies, organizations, etc. And, so I just have this love for our community and want to do something to help. And that's what this platform is all about. And I guess we'll go more into that as we continue with this podcast. But I grew up in the Northern Virginia area, just outside of DC.
Okay, and what was it like growing up in Virginia? I mean, Virginia is a different state, and as far as Black communities, did you grow up in your typical Black community in Virginia, or was it different?
Actually, it was different. Okay, I grew up in a suburb of Washington, D.C. in Fairfax County, Virginia. And Fairfax County, Virginia, I would have to say is predominantly white. I would give it 80%, especially at the time when I was younger, more than 80% white, one of the wealthiest counties in the country, but my family wasn't wealthy.
Okay.
My dad, he just happened to get a job there and moved us there to Fairfax County because of the school systems there. So he figured that he would sacrifice and get us there so we can get an education. And then it just, became home for us.
Now, do you feel like the education, the experiences that you received in school there had a part to play in your development in this whole technological field? Because you're pretty deep into it, you know.
Right. Well, I got to say, school really played a small part of it. And I say this because, first of all, I'm at that age where computers didn't start to take off until I was in about the 6th grade.
Okay.
And at that time, not many people knew anything about computers and all that kind of stuff. And then we were keyboarding with the old typewriters. We had to punch the keys and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So I was there. So school played a small part. Yes, it did. But I never knew that I would actually end up here because I did take computer science in high school.
Okay.
And the first time I took computer science, I didn't do very well. And,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then my teacher, Ms. Rosenthal, she said, Michael, just apply yourself. You know, you can absolutely do this. And I got to tell you, I was the only Black student in the classroom at the time. And I decided to apply myself and did great. And then computer science was over. And, so that was all that school really did for me. But the biggest thing that influenced me was growing up in a community where there were so many people that had so much more than myself and my family. So most of
Mm.
them were white. And I would
Mhm.
always sit back and think, why do these people have so much more than me and my family? So naturally, I was friends with some of them. And when I would go over their house, they would have these large homes. Now, we lived in an apartment, but they would have these
Mhm.
large homes and nice cars and everything else. And as I went to visit them at their homes, one of the commonalities that I realized amongst most of them is that their parents own their own businesses. That was a
Mm.
big thing that stuck out to me. Like,
Mhm.
people have their own business, these big homes, and like only three people living in these big, 5, 6 bedroom homes.
Sure.
So I said, I need to do the same thing. And so that was a big influence and turning point in my life.
Wow, that's interesting. So you had some role models around you. You had something to look at.
Unintentional role models.
Unintentional role models, absolutely. But they were role models because this is what you grew up looking at, and that is inspiring when you grow up around that type of environment. I would also want to say your dad taking you there for a better education, that you probably, when it came to the fundamentals of education,
Mhm.
math, reading, science, history, I'm sure you got a pretty well rounded experience.
Oh yeah, I
You know,
have to. Yeah, I do have
uh-huh.
to give that credit right there because
Sure,
it made
sure.
a massive difference. Because let me just briefly say, in my high school, I took aeronautical engineering. We built a real
See,
airplane in high school. I
see.
was in ROTC, where we had the best military stuff for junior
See.
officers.
Mm-hmm.
Just the best everything. So yeah, it did make a difference, and we had all the books, the whole 9 yards.
See.
And unfortunately, though, I got to say this: a lot of our people that went to my school did not take advantage of that. You had a handful that did, but then there were a lot of us that did not. And I'm still friends with them to this day, and I can see the result of this. So one of the things that we got to keep in mind is to focus on that education. And because it's important, even though there's some issues with it, it's still
Uh-huh.
important.
So is it still predominantly a white community today?
It's decreased a little bit because of the Hispanic population increased,
Ah,
right?
okay.
But the percentage
Okay.
of black and white, between that right there is about the
Mm-hmm.
same.
Okay. Okay. But I emphasize that issue about education because it's a huge issue that's on the table here right now in Chicago with our schools,
Hmm.
because our schools in the black communities on the west side and south side of Chicago have been so under resourced, and
Right.
the children are getting a very poor education. They're struggling to get into these special magnet schools, and when the parents can't get their children into the magnet schools, then don't know what to do. And it's why so
Hmm.
many people are leaving Chicago, especially from the black community. And I don't know if you remember, there was a story about a parent that had her children to go to school in a community that her parents lived in,
Hmm.
because it was a better school. And the mother of the children and the father ended up being arrested. And
Wow.
I mean,
I did not hear about that.
it was a very sad story. The father actually, her father died in the hospital. They had him handcuffed to the bed and these people in that district wanted the money back, wanted the mother to pay the money back for the education that their children had received. And those parents, the children were telling the difference. They said when we had science, um, they had actual ponds with frogs and lily pads in it, where at the school that they went to, they had none of that.
Yeah.
They didn't have the petri dishes and the microscopes and things like that. And so
Right.
it's just the disparity makes such a difference.
It
But
does.
I just wanted to emphasize that,
Hmm.
because that's so important.
It
But
is.
absolutely. But you also, where did you go to college?
Well, actually, I did not complete college. I was going to start at University of Maryland, and at
Hmm.
that time, the technology boom was really taking off because Fairfax County and Loudoun County are the counties where I, lived, and those were actually the tech, um, pretty much capitals of the United States, along with Silicon Valley.
Hmm.
And so I decided to just go ahead and pursue technology because the money was there, and I actually knew more than a lot of the professors at the universities because I was actually doing real hands-on work. So I looked at it
Okay.
as a waste of time at that point in my life.
Okay. So you didn't graduate?
No,
Okay.
not.
And so what do you feel about that? Do you feel that most successful business owners are college graduates?
I would have to say no, because college for me, wouldn't have made a difference. They would have just put me into debt. If I was going to be a doctor or a dentist or something like that, you absolutely need it. And when you look at a lot of business owners today, you'll see that a lot of them, especially the biggest business owners, are not college graduates. So that says a whole lot right there. It's all about what's in here, your
Hmm.
experience, that drive and determination that you have that really is a deciding factor because I forgot who said it. I can't remember if it was P. Diddy or one of them, or 50 Cents, but they said that if the college professors were so good at businesses, they would be doing it themselves, making a
Mm.
lot of money as
Hmm.
opposed to teaching.
Sure.
So, and I kind of thought like, that's a good point.
Well, that's what a lot of young people are doing now. They have to go to high school. They feel like they have to at least finish high school.
You have to get the basics. High school is just
Yeah.
the basics.
Yeah, they got to go to high school, but a lot of them, I'm just hearing, in conversations, casual conversations, they're going to finish and they're going to start their own business.
Hmm.
And I think that's a wonderful thing to happen, because it's the local strength that really creates a community. It's that coming together locally that's really strong. And I think that's going to maybe deal with some of these big conglomerates that have come in and pushed everybody out, because
Hmm.
all they are, a big department store, all it is a bunch of small businesses under one roof,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So okay, so now that we know that you didn't go to college, um, why did you start OBT? And I want you to tell us what OBT is and explain all of that.
Okay, OBT. O stands for our, OUR. B stands for black. T stands for truth. Our black truth. And it was started because there were so many of us that were discriminated against and still are to this very moment as I speak, that are discriminated against by all these other social media platforms because we can sit here on these platforms like Facebook, for example. We are some of the largest users of Facebook as well as other social media platforms. We are also the greatest influencers of all these other platforms, but we are the least to benefit from all these other platforms. That's a problem. When we talk about not having economic empowerment, that's the reason why, because we're consumers, but we're not producers. We need to produce things. Technology is a way for us to make money, big money.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so just imagine if I owned a $100 billion company. That's money that goes back into our community. When I hear about our schools not having money, I'm going to write a check. And the reason why I would do that and can do it is because I can do more than one thing. I can build multiple platforms to generate revenue. So we as a people collectively need to build businesses,
That's
technology
right.
businesses, businesses in medicine, because we need to take care of ourselves. We need food and all of that. And we need to support one another so that we will have the ability to be self-sustaining. And that's a big issue. We are not
Mm-hmm.
self-sustaining in no way, shape, or form right now. And when we look at the economy, it's just getting worse. And who's suffering the fastest and the most? It's those that have the least.
That's right.
So when I heard you say that a lot of young people want to start businesses, that's the way to go. It's absolutely the way to go. And so OBT was started to build generational wealth for my family. But in addition to that, I want to make more Black millionaires than any other business ever has. Because if you look at the number of millionaires that Facebook has made, that Amazon has made, a lot. But how many of them look like us? How many of them look like you?
So now, how would OBT make that happen? Well, but before I ask that question, you mentioned something about Facebook, and then there's YouTube, and us needing to have these platforms, and our organization, we used Facebook for ads. I just went in myself and paid $25 or what have you to get ads for our organization, and we got shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked for our credentials and ID. I sent all of that in
Mm-hmm.
and could never get a response back from Facebook as to why, what, or when.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know.
that's common because, first of all, I'm not sitting here hollering racism and all that kind of stuff, but they don't understand us as a people culturally.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that we say, they interpret differently than what we mean it to mean. And that's a problem. A lot of things that we do, they look at as being a threat or against the system, etc., when in fact it's not. We are speaking truth, but it doesn't seem like truth to them because they don't experience what we experience. But
Mm-hmm.
see, on our platform, what we're doing differently is that everyone is welcome. I don't care if you're black, white, green, yellow, red, whatever, long as you follow the community guidelines. But everyone has to keep in mind that this platform was designed to level the playing field, and Black people are not going to be censored for speaking the truth. If you act
Mm-hmm.
crazy and do foolish things, of course, you're going to be censored here just like any place else. But you don't have to worry about being censored for speaking the truth, being discriminated against, because Facebook, Instagram, and all the rest, they've been taken to court so many times. It's been found numerous times that they were discriminatory or had discriminatory practices, etc. It's because they don't understand us as a people. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I built this platform, because we need to have our own that's comparable to theirs and where people at the top are going to be fair. So we're not going to discriminate against any other nationality. But what we're doing again is we're making sure that our people are not discriminated against and that they benefit. And to go back to a question that you were about to ask, how are we planning to help people to become millionaires? We're allowing any and everyone to invest into OBT Social, because if you had a share of, we'll just say Facebook or Bitcoin or whatever, a single share, may not be a lot of money, but it's still a significant amount. And if you get enough of that, then you can do very well for yourself. We have a system set up whereas people can earn shares of OBT Social without investing cash, but they can assist us to build the base. And for every person that they bring on, they will receive shares. And that's one of the ways that we give back to the community in building this. And then when we go public, they'll have these shares, which will then have significant value. So that helps our community. Being able to communicate with one another without interruption helps our community. And when you talk about Black Wall Street, keeping the money in the community, we are one of the only platforms that allow users to tip you for comments that you make or post that you put up. So a person can leave you a tip anywhere from $2 on up, and we've seen people get $80 tips on our platform. But the average tip is almost $4.
Now, what would they get tips for?
Okay, well, say for example, if you posted something about education and people found it informative or helpful, because you could be telling them about where they can find scholarships, for example. Okay, and then they might find a scholarship, or they might say, "Oh, I never knew this. This is great information." They can leave you a $2 tip, $3 tip for leaving that good information. So what that does is it encourages the quality of content to be up here instead of down here. So it helps to weed out the stupidity and ignorance that you see on these other platforms, because a lot of people will post with the intention of trying to post good content to receive tips so they can make money instead of just receiving likes. You cannot spend likes, but you can spend these tips that you get, and we pay them out cash on a debit card and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so that's encouraging good content.
Yeah.
Strong content. So
Right.
what would be some of your community guidelines?
The community guidelines. We don't want women to be posting pictures whereas it's sexually explicit and all those kinds of things. We don't want our men posting pictures with their pants hanging off their tails and all that kind of stuff, because we need to raise the standard. We need to bring it here. And I feel that we can do that because we're not being discriminatory. We have to hold one another accountable for our actions. And the rest of the world, when they see us the way the media wants them to see us. But see, I want them to see the truth as to who we truly are. And we're not those with the pants hanging off and, barely wearing clothes. That's not the majority of us, but the media will have you believe so.
Okay. There was another question I was going to ask that just kind of slipped me. But yeah. Oh, what about language?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. This old foul language and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we don't want it. We're not like extremely strict because yes, people use profanity and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's some profanity there, but it's all about the context. You cannot be disrespecting people and all of that. If you're upset and you're saying something, okay, fine. We understand. And we'll touch on it. We'll send you a warning about it. But see, when we send warnings, it's not a threat. We tell you that we prefer not to have this kind of language because of this, this, and this. And we're trying to raise the standard of social media. And we explain like that because we know where you're coming from. I know how you feel. So that's the approach that we have when we talk to our community as well as any other community that's on the platform.
Okay. So we're getting a question in the chat about the different types of things, I guess, that you would actually be able to get tips for. So you did mention a few things, and they're asking about a book. Can you get tips for a book that you post?
Right. If you post a book, you can get a tip for it. But at the same time, we also have a store that you can create if you're an author. So you can create your own store so you can sell your books.
Sure.
And you can just take little excerpts from the book and post it. And maybe someone likes that excerpt because it helps them and they can leave you a tip for it.
Okay, great. That's great. This is a unique unique platform here. Now, there's some other people that have tried to do this. Um, and can you talk about that, about some of the other individuals that have tried to create platforms like this, other Black people, and what has happened with them?
Right. There's a handful of companies out here right now that are, I guess, Black social media platforms. They're doing okay and everything else, but the problem is you can't get Wall Street or any other big organization to take them seriously because they're too small in terms of their thinking, infrastructure, experience, etc. So, so let me give you an example. OBT Social is a social media platform, but it was built and designed to rival these billion-dollar companies. See, that's where a lot of us go wrong, that we can't rival them. We cannot scale globally. And when I say we can rival these other companies, when you look at where our hardware is located, like our servers and routers and switches and all of that, we are in the same buildings with Google, Facebook, Netflix, Zoom, those companies. Those are our neighbors. So when you walk in and look at our equipment, you'll see theirs, and so right there, we're in the mix with them. And also, we have our equipment sitting on top of the internet, which sounds weird, right? On top of the internet. But let me explain that. Northern Virginia, where I grew up, Loudoun County, Virginia, that's where more than 70% of the internet traffic in the entire world flows through the buildings where our equipment is. More than 70% of the world's traffic. So that means our servers can just directly connect into different networks, which increases performance, speed, reliability, etc. That's what all the big boys want that spend millions on top of millions of dollars per month for their services. We're doing that. But if you look at the other Black businesses, they're not, because they cannot afford that cost. And the reason why we can afford the cost is because I built networks for major corporations, telecommunications company, fiber optic organizations, just everything you can think of. Built data centers for like AT&T when Enron was around, and all these other companies. So I know exactly how to build it, and a lot of us don't have that experience to actually be able to build everything from the top to the bottom. And then the last thing I want to say is I can do everything from the actual coding of the platform all the way to getting it to your mobile device. And to have that in one person is pretty much unheard of. But I've been blessed with the ability to do it, and growing up in Fairfax and Loudoun County, Virginia, gave me the ability to do that. So that's what makes us a little different than some of the others that are out here that have tried it, but they failed. And then the one last piece of that is a lot of them, they're spending $200, $300 per month for their servers. You can't run a global business on just that amount. We have equipment in more than 100 countries right now. So we're taking it seriously. And by us taking it so seriously, Wall Street, investors, and everyone else have to take us seriously.
How much does it cost to build, a network of this stature?
Well, OBT Social, for example, if you want to build OBT Social, it will cost you, I would have to say, about $1.5 million just for software development to get it deployed. And see, we have OBT Social, but then we also have a sister platform called OBT Video. And that's a totally separate platform that's more comparable to YouTube. So you're looking at about 1.5 million just for the coding and all of that. And then you're looking at tens of thousands, if not 100,000 plus per month, just for the connectivity around the globe.
So most of the other companies, Black companies that have tried to do this, you said that they're too small.
They're too small and don't have the
they're too
experience.
small, and they do not have the experience that
Mhm.
you bring to the table. That's one thing. And then how do you cultivate this type of level of economic support?
Are you talking about how we pay for it?
How you
Or
get,
what do you mean?
1 point? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, basically, we have group of a limited number of investors right now, and it's been self-funded for years now. My own money, and my brother, he also invested some money as well. Um, yeah, so we've been funding it ourselves, and but see, we didn't have that like those parents to go to, like
Hmm.
Zuckerberg, Bezos, and
Sure,
Musk, where
sure,
they can go to
sure.
them and get $300,000 and all that. We invest our own hard-earned dollars from our
Okay,
paychecks,
okay.
to do this.
So how long did it take you to build this company?
This is about 3 to 4 years in the making.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's not very long. I know, a lot of people look at, we've got these stereotypes, right,
Mhm.
about Black businesses. And what would you have to say about that when you would compare your business to what people the stereotypes about what Black business not can't well, even though you're right there with
Mhm.
Facebook and you're right there with YouTube, know, Black people just tend to not see you on par with. What would you say about that?
Well, first of all, what I would say is,
And hold
in
on one
my
second. 1 second. Okay, we were a little technical difficulty there. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
hey, no problem. Yeah, so in my particular situation, um, see, I held a position of vice president in a Fortune 20 company. So the company had over, I'd say about 200,000 people, and I was a vice president there. So that gives me the experience to be able to run a large corporation that people cannot second guess. And that large company just happens to be Verizon. So everybody knows Verizon,
Mhm.
knows it's a big company and all of that kind of stuff. So I was served as vice president there. Um, then the next thing is people cannot even second guess what we're doing because I built the system the way that I did to be next to a Facebook, Google, etc. So when people bring up that question, we're right next to Google, Facebook, and all the rest. We use the same architecture, the same building, the same fiber optic lines, the same everything that they use. So there's no crying or complaining about that. Um, and then on top of that, we're using the largest servers available on the market today. The servers that we use are green, which means energy efficient, and it reduces the carbon footprint. Amazon, Microsoft, and a bunch of other companies, they're trying to deploy these same servers across the entire infrastructure because it will save almost 40% on electricity. We already are 100% utilizing these servers, so we're actually ahead of the game. So therefore, when they say or they bring up that stereotype, we shattered that stereotype because I went in this knowing what our people think, how they think, and really how the world thinks about us doing business. And even if Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, if we were to have a meeting right now, they could not say to me, you can improve your network by doing this, this, and this. All they can say is, wow, you have everything that we have and then some. So that was the idea behind, all of this from the very beginning, to be in that position.
So someone with a business, okay, like streaming podcasts, do you have that capability?
We do. We have that on our video platform, whereas you can stream live events to as many people as you want. You can control the quality. You can download it. You can actually have the system ingested and save all of these videos and files, and you can create a membership type of base, whereas people can pay $5 per month, for example, to access these videos. It can be free. It can be any kind of way like that. So so we've built in a lot of things to economically empower our people as well as other people, but we need to empower our people.
Okay. Okay, because we've used different companies for streaming our podcasts. And so what other kinds of services would you offer, in addition to the streaming of podcasts or going on Facebook and YouTube? What other kind of services would you offer?
Yeah, actually, we're going to be offering web hosting, because we have some of the fastest servers on the planet, the fastest network, on the planet right now. For example, I'll tell you, Google, when you test their server speed, their response time is about 3 milliseconds. When you test ours, 3 milliseconds. Facebook, 3 milliseconds. Everybody else, 100 milliseconds. So we're right there with them. So we figured, why not host websites and give everybody this technological edge or advantage, because we as a people, we're still kind of lagging behind in technology. And then we have services for the church, because the church is a big part of the Black community, and so are like mosques and anything revolving around our belief systems. That's a big part of who we are. So we're actually going to become the technology arm for this. Whether you practice Islam, Christianity, whatever, we want to be a technology arm, because at the end of the day, we're all clumped together. So we need to work together, and this is one of our ways to do this. So we'll be offering web hosting as well as other technology services, as far as building telecommunications infrastructures, the whole 9 yards. And and just to put this out there, we've been asked to help build a telecommunications infrastructure for an African country. So,
wow. So somebody wouldn't have to come in with a template. You actually have the ability to create, whatever kind of situation people want. Because a lot of times when you go onto these different platforms, they have these templates that you have to go by, and so you're limited,
right.
to what you can do and what you can use.
Right. And they do this because they want to accelerate their deployment and drive down costs when you have a template. And see, we'll have some templates, but we want to make sure that everyone can have customized features and functionality as well, because again, it's representing us, and it's time for the world to see us differently. So
That's
we're
right.
doing whatever it takes, and we're a business. We're in this to make money. So yes, we will charge to make money, but at the same time, we understand that not all of our people have this, and we're flexible. You know what I mean? Whereas if you go to somebody else, they're not. We'll make it work for you.
And that's a reflection of our culture as well. We tend to be more impromptu, in our thinking and in our behaviors. I mean, if you look at our culture and compare our culture to other cultures, in our music, in our religious practices, in our dances, you know, we've been very, free flowing and just much more impromptu. And so to create a platform like this is really a more of a reflection of who we are as a people naturally,
Yeah.
giving
And
you that opportunity to do it the way you want to do it, not putting you in a box and saying you have to do it this way.
see, exactly. And I got to tell you, I learned something from this platform every single day,
There you
which is
go.
interesting. And I'm telling you, the most recent thing that I learned was that breakdancing took place on the continent of Africa, I had the video from 1951,
Wow.
breakdancing. I
Wow.
had no idea. That was very interesting. And which
Mm-hmm.
means that breakdancing actually originated before the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. That is crazy. And they were doing the same moves that they do now.
Well, there's so many things, in our culture and in our behavior that have come from the continent,
Mhm.
where our people have come, originated from, and we don't know it. That's why we push our bookstores. So reading our history and learning our history.
Yes.
And I know the first time I went to Africa, I went to Togo, and I
Mhm.
went to this service that they had, um, and it was a Voodoo service. That's what they
Mhm.
what they called it. And the people were dancing, and the drummers were drumming, and I mean the drumming was so powerful. And I noticed there were these three men sitting at the end of this circle where all the people would come and dance, and I guess they had the spirit or whatever.
Mhm.
And every once in a while, they would stand up very slowly, and they all had staffs,
Mhm.
you know, and they would start walking when they had their hand, one hand behind them and the hand on the staff, and they start walking with this little dip
Mhm.
towards the circle. Now, I saw this as I was coming up. My uncles and them used to walk like that. They were calling it the pimp walk,
Yeah.
right? But you
Mhm.
had your cane and you had your little dip and your little
Yeah.
step. And I'm seeing this in this walk.
Mhm.
And as they approached the circle, everything escalated. The drumming escalated, the dancing escalated against the people that was feeling the spirit, that enhanced. And
Yes.
then they would slowly turn around and walk back and sit down. And I said, well, my goodness. I said, there's power in that walk,
Mhm.
you know, but we
Yeah.
got separated from the essence of it, where it
Right.
came from. But somehow we were still holding on to it.
Mhm. Yeah. And they think that some people think that it's memory passed
Hmm.
down from our ancestors to us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just like, unfortunately, our experiences in slavery, have had, have had impact on our people, and
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
why we need to study. We need to read. We need to know who we are. We need to know where we came from, and
Right.
that's why we push our bookstores. So, but
That's
this
right.
is phenomenal. Now, can you tell us about some of the different projects that you have worked on already?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, for example, I helped build some networks and data centers at AT&T. Train Cisco engineers on how to become, engineers. Like there's different levels of engineers with Cisco, so I would train them and all that to get them to a higher level. I've built networks for ABC, NBC, CBS. I negotiated content deals with Sony, Warner Brothers, MGM, Disney, all these major studios. I negotiated these content deals for Verizon at the time, and unfortunately, they did not take the deal because of some short-sightedness. And then next thing I know, Apple comes in and utilizes a lot of the work that was done, and then they got the content. I did work for the Naval Research Lab, NOAA, NASA, um, the U.S. Department of Labor, just a lot of different companies I've done work for. Everything from software development to fiber optic network connections to wireless, radiation shielding, etc. And I've also spoken at MIT as well. And think about that, I'm not even a college graduate.
And see, this is what I'm thinking. You know what I'm saying? You got all these jobs. Most of the people think to get any of these types of jobs, you got to come in with a resume showing what school you graduated from and what certificates you have to get these jobs. How do
Mhm.
you get all of these jobs?
Well, like you said, you got to have a resume, right? My resume was bring your best or your best people, bring them in a room and let me holler at them. That was my resume. Bring them. They can have all the PhDs they want. It doesn't matter, because I studied, and I'm gonna tell you like this. Really, there was one point in my life whereas I would work a regular job 8 hours a day and come home and study for 8 hours. This went on for years. And it got to a point where I can go into a room, there could be 6 people sitting there at a table interviewing me, and they all specialize in different things, and I'll answer all their questions, and challenge them. And we just have to be just that meticulous, that's so much better, in order to make these things happen. So therefore, they said, no college degree, don't worry about it, because you actually can do it. And I've had people say, I had people say, here's the equipment, let me see you do it. Yeah, no problem. And I'll tell them, hey, go get this extra piece of equipment, and I'll show you something that you didn't know. That's where you got to carry it.
And you had the confidence to know that you could do this, to say, I can do this. And then to take the time to sit down and learn everything. Some people box themselves and say, well, I'm just going to learn about marketing, and that's all I know. No, you take, just like I'm a speech pathologist, and I tell people, don't just go and work with one population or in one environment. There's so many disabilities or different types of situation where people need speech pathologists. And so you want to give yourself as much experience as you can, and you learn something every day. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, see, absolutely right. And then one of the things that I realized too as I've gotten older is that people don't know nearly as much as what I thought they knew. All these people that talk about I had these PhDs and all of that, right? What I would intentionally do is I would let them ask their questions. I would answer their questions. I would take them outside of their realm of their PhD. They fall flat. You know what I mean? And
that's right.
That's a technique that I utilize to let people know you don't know nearly as much as what you think you know. When you have a wide breadth of experience and knowledge and all of that kind of stuff, that's the person that has the power. And that's right. What we need to do, and instill that into our children to do that. And yes, we need specialists in areas, but I'm talking about just in general.
Right.
That's how we need to operate.
Well, we got a question in the chat. What is your IQ?
15, 16. I have no idea.
Oh my goodness.
15, 16.
You are an enlightened person. That's what you are.
Yeah, I guess that's
you are enlightened, and you are open, and that's a beautiful space to be in. Nobody puts you in the box.
I will not allow that.
That's right. And that's what our young people, if any young people that are listening to this, that's what you need to do. And you got to read, right?
Yep, we have to read. And we have to, let me just say this too. With social media, this is a big problem that I have. Okay, now, we were talking about education. A lot of people think that social media is education. No, it's not. It's indoctrination. It's people trying to make money off of you 99% of the time with these algorithms and all of that. See, we don't run these algorithms to force things on you. We allow everything to happen organically, whereas Facebook and all the rest, they don't. They force an agenda on you. You have to be careful and vet every little thing that you consume on social media, because there's a lot of half-truths and fake news and all this other stuff that goes on. Right. People posting things. You don't know who these people are.
That's right.
And the way that we address not knowing who people are on our platform, users have a rating. So they can have a 5-star rating, which means that people have given them thumbs up on a lot of stuff that they post. But if someone doesn't have a rating or low rating, then you know that they have a lot of garbage and everything else. So that's one of the things that we built into our platform to help build credibility for the users that know what they're talking about, as opposed to those that don't. So yeah, so we have to watch everything that we consume and watch the amount of time that we spend on social media, because this is a what's the best way to put it? It's just not good when we spend so much time on social media.
That's right.
Especially, on these platforms where the people don't like us and they don't
Sure.
want to see us excel. It's a tool that can be used to destroy us.
That's right. That's right. And a lot of mean things happen on social media, and it's
Mhm.
not real communication. It's different when I'm talking to you face to face
Mhm.
about something versus me go put something on social media about you.
Right.
It's a different type of communication, and it doesn't allow that reciprocal exchange that's supposed to go on when you're communicating.
Mhm.
It's just like when I work with children, I'll see a child with autism or a serious cognitive delay, and we're just working on greetings, and
Mhm.
I might say, hi, Michael, and Michael is standing there and trying to process what he's going to say. And the teacher walk up and say, Michael, say hi to Miss Denise.
Mhm.
And then he'll say hi. Well, that was not a communication between me and Michael. You
Right.
told him what to say to me. He did not respond
Mhm.
to me.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
that's not what you're
So
getting. You're getting a false sense of and poor development in pragmatic language skills.
right. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then on
Uh-huh.
social media, people post their highlight reels, the best parts of their lives.
Okay.
So then, you absorb all of that and you're like, oh, my life is terrible compared to theirs. So and yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. And that's another reason why I created OBT Social, to help eliminate some of that garbage.
Absolutely. Now you have a community advisory board. Can you tell me what that is?
Yeah, we have a community advisory board of about 32 people. Um, and these people range anywhere from their activists, professional basketball players, um, doctors, international lawyers, human rights defenders, and basically I brought this board together for the sole purpose of making sure that OBT Social stays on course and focus on helping our community where the help needs to go, because they're
Okay.
already out there. They're
Okay.
doing this. So that's
Okay.
the purpose of the community advisory board, is to advise OBT Social as to how to best help our people.
Wow, that's great. That's great that you're doing that. One more thing, you told me about some people that were part of the Black Wall Street that
Mhm.
are still alive. They're like 108 years old. There's several people that you are engaged in a relationship with, and you have taken to Ghana. Can you tell us that story right quick? Because we're getting pretty close to the top of the hour, and I'm going to bring Doris in.
Mhm.
So I want you to tell us that story right quick.
Okay. Mother Fletcher, she's 108 years old, just had a birthday last weekend. Her brother, Hughes Van Ellis, he's 101. No, he's 102 now. And then we have Mother Randall. She's 101. We took Mother Fletcher and her brother and their family members to Ghana last year, and we met the president, vice president, ambassadors from 21 countries showed up, including the U.S., to our event. They received land, they received citizenship, they received gifts. We met with kings, chiefs, and all kinds of stuff. And we had the equivalent of Secret Service protecting and securing us while we were there. It was a great experience, and they wanted to go. It was on their bucket list. So I told them that OBT Social would take them and provide everything for them and their families. So that's what we did. And it was wonderful.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful that you did that. So if someone wants to sign up with OBT Social, how would they do that?
Yeah, you can go to obtsocial.com to access the website, or you can download the app from Google Play or the App Store. And then also, if you were interested in knowing more about investing, you can also email us as well. And you can just email support at obtsocial.com. And like I said, we're trying to make more Black millionaires and billionaires than ever before.
Okay, so they just email you and they can find out more about how to buy shares.
Yep, and or how to earn shares just by helping
Earn
people
shares.
sign up.
Okay, okay, great. All right, so we are at the top of the hour. Doris, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, Doris, how are you?
Hey, I'm wonderful. I really did enjoy this. I'm the one who asked about the IQ because when you're saying talking about all these people, these CEOs of these different companies, and you can respond the way you do. Hey, I
Absolutely.
say this brother's got an IQ of 190. I mean that's just
Absolutely.
wonderful. And another thing that I like that you're doing, I like that you're setting some standards for OBT
Absolutely.
because I really don't like Facebook because it's
Mhm.
just garbage on there. It's
Yeah.
really garbage. And I think Facebook is a platform that we could have used to do a lot more to promote our issues,
Yeah,
our
definitely.
agenda. I'm tired of seeing people talk about their birthday and they went out to dinner here and there. It serves no purpose. It serves
Right.
no purpose. So I'm glad that you do have these standards for OBT, and
Mhm.
hopefully, we can push it in the direction that we want it to go in. So I'm just really in awe and fascinated about what you've done. But when you talked about the school system that you went to, it kind of saddened me because
Mhm.
99% of our children don't get that.
Right.
They don't get that. They don't get that
No, we're
exposure.
not getting that.
And so I was saddened, and I'm thinking, man, how can we turn this around?
Hmm.
Because our children are suffering, so they will never be able to set up a site like you set up because they don't get the exposure and the experience and the
Right.
education, and that is so sad to me. But I am so glad you've done what you've done. I'm really looking forward to buying some shares and getting
Hmm.
involved with OBT, and I'm going to tell others about it so that this is ours. This
Hmm.
is ours, and that makes me
Absolutely.
feel real, real proud. And I want to thank you so much. Thank you for
Hey,
sharing.
thank you. Hey, thank you for your support. Definitely.
Absolutely. We're
Absolutely.
going to really push this. So, Denise, you want me to announce
Yes, I want you to announce the winner of the
our,
book.
our winner for the book of the month is Erica Dunn. And the name of the book is What They Did Not Tell You in History Class. And they didn't tell us a whole lot in history class. And that's
Yep.
why we're in the position that we're in today. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to change that paradigm. We're trying to change it because we've been hurt so badly.
Mhm.
I mean, and we're still suffering from it. So again, Michael,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for being on our show. And you know what? I want you to
Absolutely.
come back. I want you to come back and talk about the shares and and
Mhm.
and your initial public offering, because I
Mhm.
think our people need to get into the stock market. That's where the money is being made, and
Absolutely.
I would love to see you go public because I watch the stock market stations all day long, so I love it. So I've been able to get other people to invest in the stock market.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That's where you're going to make your money. So
Right.
thanks again, and hopefully we can get you back and talk about that more.
Hey, that'll be
Okay,
perfect. I look
so
forward.
Michael, would you give us your contact information again?
Yep. You can reach out to the platform at support@obtsocial.com, and you can download the app on Google Play or the App Store. All you need to do is search for OBT Social, and that will give you the social media platform. And if you're interested in the video platform, you just type in OBT Video, and that'll take you to the video platform. And we're just launching the video platform, so there's only probably 500 videos on there about
Mhm.
African history.
Okay,
Um,
that's wonderful.
yep,
Oh wow! All
yep.
right.
And one of my board members, he's a expert at African history, so there's a lot of his videos, and we have thousands more that's just
Okay.
waiting. So
Okay.
Okay, all right, Michael. Well, thank
Thanks,
you
Michael.
very
Thank
much
you
for
so much.
coming on,
you're
and
welcome.
we'll definitely be seeing you again. Okay.
All right, sounds good. So
All
thank you.
right.
Take care,